And Dr. Jay Williams is honored with the Dean's Medal for outstanding doctoral work for his dissertation, America's Empathy Deficit, Our Bloody Heirloom in the Invisible Backpack. He describes the goal of this research this way: to examine the on-campus experience of Black male visual and performing arts students at a university and predominantly white institution in the Northeast, particularly how those experiences shaped their careers as storytellers in mainstream media. In nominating James' dissertation for recognition, his dissertation advisor wrote, "This dissertation in practice has had far-reaching impact and has opened the door to a new way of supporting male visual and performing arts students, both locally and globally. Moreover, this work is exemplary of Jay's approach to action research and deep commitment to systemic change for the greater good." Please join me in congratulating Dr. Jay Williams on winning the Dean's Medal.
What's up, family? How y'all doing? I'm a bit nervous, so it's much easier to talk to family than a room full of strangers, so hope y'all don't mind. All right. First, I'd like to thank my creator and my ancestors on whose shoulders I stand. We did it. To my dissertation committee, Dr. Parenti, Dr. Spears, Dr. Portnoy, my classmates, my professor, my high school English teacher, and Dean Fields. I'm forever grateful for you all and this honor. Thank you. We did it. I'm gonna get through this, y'all. I'm gonna get through it. All right. I want to begin by sharing a little secret. Although I am standing in front of you all filled with gratitude and humility as the honoree of the prestigious Dean's Medal Award, I am still in awe because I don't know how I made it here in one piece. To be prepared to grapple with and process your own emotional trauma of what I describe in my dissertation as America's Empathy Deficit wasn't in the doctoral program admission application, not in one of the course syllabi, and any of the countless book titles or journal articles that I read to get me to this moment. However, it was a much needed process to endure. It laid the groundwork for discovering new ways to think and subsequently heal. To consistently find the mental, physical, and emotional stamina to give this work the care and attention it deserved revealed parts of me that I didn't know existed. The process of self-discovery within the backdrop of the COVID-19 global health pandemic is a journey that I will never forget, and one that I will always hold gratitude for its lessons personally and professionally. I want to share with you the anchor to my dissertation. It's a short excerpt from the introduction, which was written as an open letter addressed to my undergraduate alma mater. We'll call them Storytelling University. Without finding the courage to write this letter, I am confident that I will not be here with you today. So I'd like you all to listen to this with an open mind and an open heart. Dear Storytelling University, we met in the fall of 2006 in the so-called Majestic Theater during new student orientation. Looking up at the Welcome Home banner in the foyer, I immediately wondered, who's home? As the assembly began, I panned the room as I do in most large crowds to notice the student to the left of me look familiar, and the same for the right, as well as the row in front and the row behind. They looked familiar not because I had known them, but because I was in a space where my black body was one of few in a sea of white bodies, and like in most moments in my education career, I felt alone in a room full of people. My invitation to your home did not make for the expression of my black culture, so I'm confident that you did not know this, but I grew up in a house where many would consider my parents old school. They came from an era where children were to be seen and not heard, a generation where the streetlights were used as more than just to see at night, but as an indication that it was time to go home before mom had to come look for you. As a child, my independence went as far as I could hear the music playing from the record player that my dad had blasting in the living room, spilling into the streets of our neighborhood. These experiences, along with many others, are essential to understand as they laid the foundation for my awareness and how I move in the world. From a young age, I was conditioned to keep my thoughts to myself. My limitations were set by the time on the streetlights or how far I could go away from the house to where I could no longer hear the voice of Stevie Wonder's Golden Lady playing in the distance. Imagination and curiosity were curbed and replaced with hard work, good grades, and sports. Most mornings before elementary school, I would hear the voice of my parents almost in unison, echoing 2 words through the stairwell just before the door closed and the lock clicked: be safe. Sitting in that seat in orientation next to these familiar bodies and listening to all the speakers, of which not one shared the same tone and voice, dialect, or skin, felt all too familiar and foreign at once. The thoughts, feelings of questions of do I belong, and if I do, how do I navigate in this space with this black body? I sunk down in my poorly padded seat, knees pressed against the back of another, unable to comfortably move my 6'4" frame without thinking about how oppression had lodged itself into my psyche through the years. I began searching for answers as fast as the questions that clouded my thoughts, which felt like shuffling a deck of cards, hoping on my life that I would pull an ace. It was my optimism, though, that this time would be different and I no longer would have to ignore my creative curiosity and finally let the awareness of my black body be secondary to the art that I yearn to share with the world. Early on, I had to learn the rules of survival, like knowing how to look non-threatening when walking into a store or an elevator, knowing when to stop and put your hands up when responding to police with yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, music off, all windows down, and interior lights on, and for the love of God, never, ever ask why you were stopped in the first place. An extreme perspective for some, but for me, it can be the difference between life and death. Even in the moments that I write this letter, America feels like it's on fire. With 400 years of smoke so thick that we cannot breathe, like a chokehold or a knee pressed against the back of our community's necks. Although it still hurts, I finally have the strength to look at the headlines, read the articles, or even say out loud the names: Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Garner, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and not even a week ago, less than 500 miles from this place that we sit in Buffalo, New York, Aaron Salter, Ruth Whitfield, Pearl Young, Catherine Massey, Hayward Patterson, Celestine Chaney, Roberta Drury, Marcus Morrison, Andre McNeil, Geraldine Taylor, and countless others whose breath has been taken away from them far too early. This is America. This is America's empathy deficit. Looking back at my time as an undergraduate student, coupled with raising my own beautiful black children, creates a sense of urgency to remain focused on what I am fighting for: a world that suffocates racism, extinguishes white supremacy, and breathes air into the lungs of liberation. Despite the memories of loneliness in my life, I have learned to embrace the concept of we. From film sets to advertising campaigns, from boardroom brainstorming sessions to group projects with classmates, the we helped me get here. I challenge you all to put this notion of I on the shelf for a moment. Yes, you walked across this stage as an individual. When you were deep in your research, you read those books in academic journals. You wrote those 30-page papers. You committed to those seemingly impossible deadlines. And yes, it was you that sat in the dissertation defense, nervous, grappling with doubt and excitement, waiting to hear the words, "Congratulations, doctor. Welcome to the academy." I hope I didn't trigger y'all. But the reality of all that individual work is that most of what we've learned has been from a collective of scholars, practitioners, and thought partners outside ourselves. So I would argue that we are all here today because of many. Throughout my journey, I was fortunate to have literary heroes who I've never met personally, though I hope to one day, but have affectionately deemed family in my mind. Brilliant scholars such as Uncle Derek, Derek Bell, Uncle Eddie, Dr. Eddie Glod, my big brother Ta-Nehisi Coates, my big sister Nikki, Nicole Hannah Jones, Uncle Jimmy, James Baldwin, my play cousin Ibram, Dr. Ibram Kendi, Uncle Mike, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and one of my favorites, Auntie Joy, Dr. Joy DeGrew. Hey, Auntie. It was them, along with my incredible tribe, that love me beyond words, and so many others that have helped me to unpack the truth about this country and my responsibility as a leader in this work. I thank you. We did it. The saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child, and I believe it takes that same village to change the world. We are made to work with and appreciate one another. Such sentiment needs admission of its truth. Oftentimes, we fail to remember that truth. I ask you to take a moment today to acknowledge that we need one another to ensure our own successes. We need our ancestors, parents, spouses, friends, colleagues, professors, and mentors. Them, along with our life experiences, all play a role in our growth as entrepreneurs, professionals, community leaders, artists, and activists, but more importantly, our growth as humans. We are all here today because at some point, somebody, somewhere inspired us, and now it is our turn to inspire others. I've dedicated my life to telling my story and the stories of others, so much so that the body art that you see on my neck today is a symbol known as Vishuddha, or the throat chakra. It symbolizes originality, expression of your authentic voice, and speaking your truth. It serves as my constant reminder and permanent affirmation to no longer keep my thoughts and my voice to myself, to push through the discomfort of fear and judgment. And in this process, I hope to encourage everyone that I meet and you today to do the same, to share with us your story, your gifts, your truth, because all our stories matter. If you cannot be the poet, then be the poem. If you cannot be on the front lines, then speak up behind the scenes. If you cannot offer the seat at the table, then ask who is not there and why. If you cannot understand those who share their stories of pain and suffering, that's okay. Just believe them. Because you know what it feels like to be in pain, and you would never, ever want to suffer. My Auntie Joy told me that, quote, storytelling is an essential part of our education as it strengthens us, helps us build resilience, and puts things in proper perspective, end quote. Uncle Jimmy once said that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced, end quote. So let us no longer be the United States of amnesia. Uncle Eddie said that, quote, we must examine the stories we tell each other and ourselves because our stories carry moral weight, end quote. We must face our truths, even our ugly truths, about ourselves and this country. If this world is to become a better place, even for those that don't look, sound, or think like me or you, it is not I that can fix it. In fact, it is not you that can fix it. It is us. We must be the change that we want to see. We must put in the work every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Y'all didn't get that. We must put in the work every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I encourage you all to grab the hands of the person sitting next to you or in the row in front or the row behind. And while you're holding that hand, think less about the I and focus more on the we and see how far that takes us. See how much we can accomplish so that no one, regardless of race, identity, or ability, ever again has to feel alone in a room full of people. If we are going to finally erase America's empathy deficit, the world is going to need you to think about us. Because in the end, all we have is us. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams, so let's act like it. Thank you.